I'd like to recognize the gentle lady from West Virginia, Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Neal. And I want to thank all of you who are here today. What a gorgeous day. I, along with my chairman, probably wish that I was wearing the Panama hat that I received in Ecuador when we were down on a trade trip with many of our neighbors and allies talking trade. I want to thank each one of you personally, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Heminger, I'm a fellow Farm Bureau member, Mr. Turkle, all of you, Mr. Romano, Mr. O'Shea, which we would say O'Shea in West Virginia, so I'm sure you get that a lot. I am from a beautiful state full of incredible natural resources, and in particular water, and these rivers that all flow down to the Ohio River. And Huntington, where I live, is either the first or second largest inland waterway port. It depends on what Cincinnati has to say about that. But we move different things than you move right here in these ports. Mr. Romano, I understand that your company is considering building a rare earth plant in Mississippi, and my home state of West Virginia, of course, has received similar interest in developing these capabilities and bringing an essential part of the supply chain to the United States. I'm greatly concerned about China's dominance. We keep hearing this through this entire discussion today, and their dominance in the critical mineral market, because the United States absolutely has the capabilities to promote our own domestic industry, and for too long the federal government has gotten in the way. So we are working to be able to change that. Can you discuss what challenges your company has faced when deciding whether to develop a critical mineral processing plant right here in the United States? And do you have any suggestions for Congress to ensure that the U.S. processing plant can be competitive in the current market?
Thank you for your question. So as I mentioned in my testimony, or maybe I didn't in a question, so monazite is a product that we mine at the same time that we mine titanium in South Africa and Australia. So historically what we've done with that, it was a waste stream and that was being processed and sold to China. So over the course of the last several years, we've turned that into a revenue stream. But now we're looking at how we can step down the value chain and actually build a facility in Hamilton and upgrade that product similar to the way we upgrade titanium dioxide. So, you know, there is a lot of money when you think involved in that. It's a capital expense. So I use a different raw material, cobalt. You think about, there's a company not long ago that just tried to build a mine there without any trade barriers. The mine came up and running, and what did China do? They dropped the price for cobalt. So they have the same capability to do that in rare earth applications, and that's why China owns dominantly over 90% of that. So I think we're uniquely positioned as a miner and also an upgrader of raw materials to look at Hamilton as a facility. We believe that's a great location for us to expand our footprint, support the local employment of that area, and also be able to develop products that will be used here in America and possibly even by the U.S. government. Monazite is the product that we would be selling into that for rare earth oxides, and it's used in military applications for F-15s. You think about every electronic device inside one of those F-15s has a motor in it. Those motors have rare earths in them, so it's also wind turbines, the electric vehicles. So we're looking to see how we can partner with companies in the U.S. to make sure that we have not only a viable plan, but one that is economical for us long term.
One of the things I've thought in office is that I wish I had a degree in chemistry, particularly because of the natural resources. And I think about all the byproducts left over from coal throughout the years. But I'll switch direction with you a little bit to talk about how President Trump's Section 301 tariffs against China could have helped your company remain as a viable competitor. I believe it's essential that we deliberate with our tariffs in a strategic as well as providing potential relief for non-strategic goods that are important to U.S. businesses. Can you talk about conditions for U.S. titanium dioxide producers before tariffs were imposed?
Yeah, so Again, I've been with this company for many years, and I've seen many plants close over time. So we had production in Savannah, Georgia, where we made a titanium product that was specific to the paper industry. And I can remember having meetings with customers at that time telling them that we didn't choose to be competitive because the Chinese were bringing that material in at half our costs. Ultimately, that plant ended up closing. So when we think about, okay, now fast forward to 2017 when the tariffs were put in place, there has been no plant closures. Capacity is idled a bit, slowed down a bit just due to supply and demand, but capacity as nameplate has not changed. You think about the imports of TiO2 into the U.S. versus, or out of the consumption of TiO2 in the U.S. versus production. We consume as a country about 1 million tons a year of titanium dioxide, and we have a capacity utilization of 1.5 million. So there's really no need to have that much material coming in, and those tariffs have been extremely helpful for us.
That's great. Mr. Atkins, thank you for hosting us here today. I've traveled extensively since becoming a member of Congress, and I was thrilled to go to the port of Singapore last year. As the operator of the second largest port in America, I would be very interested in hearing how you think U.S. ports compare to others globally and what role Congress plays in maintaining your competitiveness.
Yes, thank you for the question. The U.S. side, it's a good blend of the equipment that we utilize and how we work with the workforce. Over in Singapore and a lot of the other ports around the world, they tend to be transshipment hubs, highly mechanized, highly automated. Automation doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be faster. It just means it's consistent. We have an operation over in Bayonne that does have a degree of remote operation. We kept people in particular jobs, in equipment that actually performs faster than some of these automated operations. So there needs to be continued investment across the board, as we talked about on dredging, on the equipment that we have. And, you know, I know there's a Buy America piece when it comes to these large gantry cranes that we talk about. There's just no manufacturers when it comes to any of these large cranes that you see. And these cranes on average are $15 to $18 million a piece. So it's heavy, heavy investment that's not responsible for any type of federal grants or subsidies. So those are the type things that we could look to stay competitive with other ports around the world. But it's a good blend of the investment that you have on your infrastructure and the labor that you have on your facility.
And you answered my next question very well. Thank you so much, and I yield back.